What's up, guys? This is Aaron. It is time for college football week 10 best bets. I'm going to give you, I've got four best bets, but I got a little bit more I'll give you this time. Now that it's getting a little bit later in the season. Let's see. So we had like a 6 and 7 week last week. If you got the Missouri live team total, you cashed that in 7 and 7. Forgettable, but not terrible. We're still hitting 55% on the year. We're hopefully we can get to 60%, maybe not. We're still up like 7 units on the season. If you got all the live bets, you're up like 11 units, maybe almost double this. So let's get started here. So the first game I want to talk about is Arkansas at home to Ole Miss. So, the SEC, we do a lot of this, sort of zigzagging, like, bet the team one week, you bet against them the next week, just because in the SEC, this is a schedule everybody's playing where, you got so many tough games that you're playing over and over again that, sometimes it's just today's a good spot and next week is a bad spot, or it's a good spot for the other team, also a bad spot for this team. So we do a lot of that. So this is going to be Arkansas +8. Gave this out earlier in the Discord. 7.5s are what I'm seeing now. So shop around. If you got one book, you need two. If you got two, you need four. If you got 8 books, you need 16. As many as you can get that. Arkansas with Taylor Green, he's at least got the ability now to run the ball. He's not hobbled with that leg injury he had, lower extremity injury. They do have Rocket Sanders that can, pound on the ground a little bit, maybe get you 40, 50, 60 yards, just enough to move the chains. Bobby Petrino at OC, they're putting up a ton of yards on most teams. They've been competitive every time except for the LSU game. We dropped that one. But anyway, Ole Miss, they're kind of in like a do or die situation. So, they could come out to play pretty hard here. It's just that they don't often in conference get the type of margin that they're laying here. To bet Ole Miss, you're laying over a touchdown even on the road. So let's take Arkansas here +8. The next one is going to be South Carolina +3 at home to Texas A&M. So like I said, zigzag. Last week, we had A&M against LSU. They got down early, and kind of how we thought, late in the game, they kind of wore down the defense. You saw a bunch of, more chunk plays and explosive plays. They came back. They win the game by margin, by 15. So this is something that we do quite often in SEC play. South Carolina, their defensive line is ferocious. They're getting sacks every week. They got freshmen out here getting sacks. On offense, they're not a great offense. They're not explosive necessarily. But they do have Lenore Sellers. He's going to run the ball. And actually, with the Arkansas, I didn't mean Rocket Sanders at running back. He's actually on South Carolina now. My bad. But I do believe that here South Carolina is going to be able to play some really good defense. You saw what they did against Alabama. They've done this to teams. They did it to Oklahoma. They're just going to be ferocious in the front seven. They're good enough in the back end. And A&M coming off, that's a pretty emotional win that they're coming off right now. Got a little pressure going right now, trying to, hold out, maybe beat Texas, maybe make the SEC title game. So this is sort of a pressure spot off an emotional win. So we like South Carolina here +3. I think they went out right. The third game is going to be Clemson -10 against Louisville. This is going to be a spot play. So I would probably have Clemson -10 like on a neutral, 8, 9, 10, something like that. So you add in a pretty nice little home field advantage there for them that they always have in Death Valley. And this, bumps that up a little more. So Klubnik, good at home, bad on the road. You want good Klubnik, you want them at home. They're going to run the ball well. They play this maybe not as good of defense as they have in years past, but this is still a very talented defense. They're out there balling. In conference play, they're doing enough to cover much bigger spreads than this. Louisville, as far as the spot play goes, this is their 7th game in a row. Fade teams in that situation when the point spread warrants it. And right here, only laying 10 right here. I think this is one of those games where Clemson can probably, maybe if not at first, maybe they can pull away late, win by 2-3 touchdowns. Especially if Louisville's going to come out like they did against Boston College. That was kind of a weird game. They did end up winning at the end by 4. But they're down like 2-3 scores already. So if they do this against Clemson, this is over. So let's go Clemson -10. The last one here is going to be Georgia. So I actually gave this out on the Discord -16. You can actually get 14 right now. I'm looking at some of these offshores that I've got pulled up. You can get, there's a lot of 14.5s, but you can get Georgia -14, -116. That's good. That's plenty. You're getting the benefit of the 14. I think that they probably win this by 3 scores. So basically, we're talking about a Georgia team that can go on the road and beat Texas in a game where Carson Beck throws 3 interceptions on the first 3 drives, and they still win the game by margin. So that's what they're capable of. This is a neutral site game, of course, for the cocktail party, as always, in Jacksonville, Florida. So, of course, Florida's looking good like the past 3-4 weeks. Some of that has to do with Graham Mertz, and now that he's out, you've got Lagway. We like Lagway. He's going to throw some deep balls. The short accuracy is not quite there yet. Maybe not the decision-making, but the guy's super fast. There are plays to be made. And Georgia, if you look at their stats in conference play, really between the two teams, if you look at just the yards margin per game in conference, it's not very different. But the thing is, you've got a true freshman quarterback, Lagway, going against that Kirby Smart defense. I'm probably always going to take Georgia in a game like that. So right here, we're just going to have to take Georgia. I gave it at 16, so that's what I'm going to grade it at. But at least for the video, let's go -14 because you can get that right now. So let's see. And by the way, Georgia's won the last 3 in this series by an average of 24 points per game, if you like, history and trends. Let's see. So I was also going to give you Oregon's -14. Pretty much like 14.5 across the board, but at some of the reduced juice shops, let's see, we've got Oregon -14, -113, which is just fine. That's about what you would get, in a game like this. I actually see you can buy it, Oregon -13.5, -123, which I don't normally advocate for, laying that kind of juice and buying points and things like that. But in this particular situation, at least get the 14. Kind of like this 13.5 because, Oregon, of course, in some of these games where they're up, 3-4 scores, yeah, they take their foot off the gas in the second half. But, this is a big game in Ann Arbor at Michigan. It's still a kind of a big name program. This is the win that they want to get, whether they need it or not necessarily by the end of the year. Oh, well. But, with Michigan, not good at throwing the ball, load the box up. Let your pass rushers tee off on Davis Warren and Orgy. Jack Tuttle, the quarterback for Michigan, he's had to retire from football. So really the one passer that they had is not there. And so now Davis Warren's going to, I guess, start. He's got a 3 touchdown and 6 interception ratio. That's not very good. And in a game like this, you start turning the ball over, the game's going to be over pretty quickly. It's going to look like that Texas game. And if it's not him, Orgy can run a little bit, but, that guy is not putting up points. Especially once they get behind, if they're down like 2 scores or something, there's just like no chance for Michigan to come back in the game organically. So let's also go with Oregon there. At least get a -14 here. I might even take this 13.5. But yeah, those are going to be my 5 best ones for the week. So whether you tail or fade, I hope you make some money. Let's cash. Vote. No matter who you vote for, vote. That's also important. See you next week.